Alright, hello everyone, welcome to the Black and Intellectual well, not Ustream, but YouTube / Periscope live stream. I've been wanting to do this for months and months and months, but one thing kept happening after another. I just wasn't able to get around to it. My schedule has been really crazy, so I just kept it with the pre-made videos that I would just record and edit separately in Sony Vegas. But this is something new. It's 2018. I want to try something new. So I'm going to be live streaming consistently every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. noon. That's currently where it's at right now. That might change in the future, but that's where I'm at right now currently. If you're listening to this and hold on, I need to change something right now. See, this is how new this whole thing is. My screen isn't doing what I want it to. So give me 1 second. I have to move some things around. I have to make it fit. Webcam frame rate on. Just bear with me really quick, family. I'm currently using Streamlabs OBS, if anyone is wondering, because I didn't want to just have something that look kind of plain and basic when I do my live streams. I wanted to have something that was at least a little bit attractive. You know what I'm saying? So if anyone does live streaming, or you're thinking about doing live streaming, and you want to know what this is, or where you can get it, that's what it's called. It's Streamlabs OBS. It has a ton of overlays. I might just delete some of this honestly right now, so that I could move on. Well, yeah, let's continue. I'm gonna work on this as we go. But the story that I wanted to start out with today, because I'm gonna go over about 3 stories. I wanted to go into this story about gerrymandering and a voter suppression story, or several voter suppression stories that I've come across over the past few days. I think I'm going to hold off on that though, because primarily what I want to get into is the government shutdown. That's been one of the bigger stories of the past few days. The Women's March that occurred, and this crazy story about a former police chief in Kentucky who basically is a typical white supremacist police chief. But I'm gonna be going over that last. That's the last story. And if anyone is listening to this and my audio isn't very clear, just let me know. I might have to decrease the volume on the background music, because I didn't want to just have my voice either. I wanted to have something playing in the background while I do my live streams. So this government shutdown that everybody's been talking about ended, and really it's really just a stopgap spending bill. That's the way that the government shutdown ended, and it didn't even last that long. It lasted a few days, and the Democrats caved like everyone knew they would. Everyone expected them to cave, and they played their role. And so they agreed. The Democrats and the Republicans basically came together on the stopgap spending bill to reopen the government. And it's so crazy because this isn't even permanent. This is going to come up again in 3 weeks on February the 8th. So this wasn't something that is not going to be an issue in the future. They're pretty much just basically kicking the can down the road. And if you've been on social media, everyone's been talking about, depending on what team you're on, and I don't have a team, I'm an independent, but you were either on team Schumer shutdown, that's basically what the Republicans and the right wingers were on, or you were on team Trump shutdown. So everybody, and mostly it's the Republicans, because this is the first time in U.S. history, you probably heard this elsewhere, this is the first time in U.S. history that a government shutdown has occurred when one party was controlling everything. So the Republicans control the White House, they control Congress, they control, of course, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So really, there didn't have to be a shutdown if they didn't want a shutdown. But they're not going to go on television and say this. They're not going to, go in front of the troops overseas and say this. I saw this video where Mike Pence was grandstanding in front of some soldiers, blaming the shutdown on Democrats. There's been all kinds of lying going on from Republicans on this issue, because in reality, they're the ones who are mostly responsible for it. But, you can call it the Trump shutdown if you want to, but really, you see, here's the problem. You already have Democrats coming out saying that they're willing to concede on funding for the border wall if DACA recipients are protected, and the Republicans are basically saying no, no, no. They're saying no to everything that the Democrats are suggesting, because the Republicans don't really want to negotiate. That's not their MO. The Republicans want the Democrats to do what the Democrats always do, which is bend over at the knees and just go along with whatever the Republicans want. That's the Republican game plan. That's always been the Republican game plan. And the Democrats far too often concede to this. And see, here's the problem with what the Democrats are doing. I understand, to an extent, the rationale behind what they were doing with the agreement. But other people have pointed this out as well. The Democrats are on the right side of this issue-wise. So the Democrats didn't need to cave when they did. The majority of people in this country support protecting DACA recipients. The majority of the people in this country support protecting Dreamers. Most people don't want to see a bunch of people just kicked out of the country like that. So for Gutierrez and Schumer and Durbin and all these other dudes to come around and say, hey, yeah, we'll give you the funding for the border wall, which is a complete waste of money. That you want to talk about government spending, you don't waste more government funds than spending money on a pointless wall that's not going to really do anything. It's purely just this what is that? It's purely just this nativist circle jerk that a lot of the right wingers are on, where they think this wall is going to do something. It's just a complete waste of time and a waste of money. So the Democrats are basically saying, hey, we'll give you anything and everything you want, Republicans. All you have to do is protect DACA recipients. That's not how you bargain. That's a horrible way of bargaining. Okay, and lost in the discussion of all this are Haitian immigrants, Haitians being protected under temporary protected status, TPS. Okay, so Haitians, people from El Salvador, Africans, those quote-unquote S-hole countries. I did a whole video about that on my channel, just completely going off about that. But yeah, that's been completely lost in this discussion. Nothing is being said about protecting Haitians. Nothing's being said about protecting people from El Salvador. The Democrats aren't even adding that to the equation. They're just saying, hey, we just want protection for DACA recipients. And the Republicans use this to their advantage because, well, hold on. Before I get into that, I want to lay some groundwork first. Let me check on a few things. Let me check on that. Okay, that doesn't look good. I'm stopping really quick because I'm noticing something on my stream that I don't like. Let me adjust this. Adjust this. Move this up. Just bear with me, family. This is real rugged. Okay. That's gonna have to do. Oops, didn't want to do that. Okay. Okay, so that's gonna have to work right now. So getting back to the story, in case you've been living under a rock, right? DACA is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. Okay, and it basically says if you were brought here illegally under the age of 16, and if you meet, certain qualifications, other qualifications, I'm not going to go over each one right now, but if you meet certain qualifications, you can stay in the United States and receive temporary lawful status with work authorization. Okay, so DACA impacts a massive 800,000 individuals in the United States. So if you think back to 2017, Trump ended the DACA program in September. But there was a caveat attached to it because, it was attached with a 6-month delay, which is set to expire as of, the articles that I've read, set to expire in March. So they have until about March to get a deal done. So this is why you're hearing so much about DACA and DACA recipients, because they're on a schedule because of what Trump did. And so this has intensified the call for passage of a DREAM Act, and they've been trying to pass a DREAM Act since like 2001. There have been a number of iterations of it, but it would basically provide a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants through either college, work, or military service. Okay, so if you do one of those three things, you'll be put on a path to citizenship. And according to reports, the current version of the DREAM Act, which was introduced in July of 2017, would protect over 3.5 million people in the United States. Okay, so that's why this is such a big deal, because that's a lot of people. That's a hell of a lot of people. Okay, and me personally, I'm not going to be on the side of being kind of like nonchalant about this and just casually disregarding the sheer insane number of lives this will impact if Trump has his way. So something has to be done about this. But how you go about protecting the rights of these people is very important, because you have an entire faction of people on the right, the Stephen Millers, the Bannons, Trump. You have this entire group of people on the right that under no circumstances do they want to protect these people. When they say make America great again, what they really mean is make America white again, or rather keep America as white as possible. Okay, that's what all of this is really about. That's why they want to kick a bunch of immigrants out of the country. And this isn't just people from South America. This is people from Central America, South America, the Caribbean, Africa. There are all sorts of people that's lumped into these programs. And if a DREAM Act is passed, it'll keep families together, and it'll save an incredible amount of lives. And it'll just prevent like a huge PR nightmare in terms of what this country is going to look like when 3.5 million people or more are forced out of the country, or at least in the short term when it comes to DACA specifically, 800,000 individuals. Okay, that's a nightmare, and we've been deporting a lot of people. And the only good thing, honestly, if I were to say anything positive about this shutdown and the cave from the Democrats around this shutdown, the only good thing that came out about it is that CHIP, Children's Health Insurance Program, has been funded for another 6 years. Okay, so the problem though is this rollover on the part of the Democrats, as I said earlier, was just not necessary. And because polling is overwhelmingly in favor of Democrats on this issue, all the Democrats had to do was just hammer the Republicans over the head with, okay, so you guys are really trying to take children. Do you know how easy it would be to shame Republicans on cutting funding for CHIP and just splitting families apart? when you already know the majority of the people in the country support you or support your position, you could easily do that. But you see, they don't want to do that because, and I'm talking about the Democrats, because caving is what they do. Caving is what they do, baby. Like they don't know how to fight. Okay, so yeah, they got chip. They got chip coverage for 6 years. So that's good. Okay, but they could have gotten that anyway. But because you had some weak-kneed Democrats in areas that Trump won, there's certain Democrats, it was like 13 Democrats that voted with the Republicans on this topic. They all come from areas where they're either being primaried or the Republicans, specifically Trump, performed very well in 2016. So you have some weak-kneed Democrats who caved, and really they just really gave in, and really just kind of made the Democratic Party look bad. You know, I don't really know how else to describe it. I mean, compromise, you do have to compromise eventually, so I'm not faulting them for that. And this will come up again in the future, but I don't know, man. These Democrats are something else. You know, and now here's the crazy part. I want to get into this too. And it's the aspect of this deal that people on the left have criticized the most. Okay, so the Senate voted 81-18 for this spending bill, right? With, like I said a second ago, 13 Democrats and 1 independent voting with the Republicans to end the shutdown. The Democrats, okay, specifically Chuck Schumer, okay, did this on a promise from Mitch McConnell that over the course of the next 3 weeks, they come to an agreement on DACA. And the Dreamers, and this was according to the New York Times. Okay, so Chuck Schumer got a promise from Mitch McConnell, who is known for promising things that he doesn't follow through with. He doesn't follow up on. Okay, he promises stuff all the time just to get people to do what he wants them to do. And then he does what he wants to do. Mitch McConnell is known for playing people. and it's like the Star Wars meme. It's a trap. Like, somebody should have told Chuck Schumer this before he came to this quote-unquote deal with Mitch McConnell. Somebody should have kicked that door open to that little secret room where they come to these little deals in the Senate, and somebody should have screamed into Chuck Schumer's ears, "It's a trap." Because guess what? They're already reneging on this. They're already butting, not following through with this promise. So, the Democrats didn't get anything concrete out of this. That's not what happened, people. Sorry, I had a cough. They got a few. Most likely, this is what went down. They got a few calls from their donors, right? And some donors started making demands and started making threats about people's money being kept from them and perhaps losing, not being funded, not getting funding for the next election. And so they had to, kick some people between the legs and get them to act. And so the donors came around and were like, hey, do this, do that. And the Democrats did it, and they ended this on a promise with Mitch McConnell. At least that's what they're saying publicly. I happen to think, like other people, the donors really run the show, because this is essentially a plutocracy. American democracy is increasingly not real. Like, it's representative democracy has taken more shots than an alcoholic at a bar. Like, honestly. And so that's really That's really that. Let me just end this whole story by saying this. So the Republicans now are basically just holding DACA recipients hostage. DACA recipients, dreamers, they're all being held hostage right now by Republicans, because what they're doing, what Trump and the Republicans want to do in the Freedom Caucus and Congress, what they want to do is use DACA to get funding for a bunch of far-right anti-immigration policies and include those in any bill that protects DACA recipients or the dreamers. So Trump is basically saying, okay, Democrats, I said I was canceling DACA, or basically he did cancel DACA back in September, and I gave, a 6-month grace period, a 6-month delay before it really goes into effect. If you don't want that to go into effect, Democrats, if you want to protect DACA recipients, I don't think they're going to do a DREAM Act. That's just my personal opinion, because they don't want a pathway to citizenship. At the very most, okay, and this is according to their public statements, which, when it comes to Trump, it's not really worth anything. His word is not worth, his word is not his bond. Let me just keep it like that. But if they're basically saying publicly, Democrats, if you want to help, if you want to protect these DACA recipients, just, go along with us on the wall. Fund the wall. And they want to push through this extremely xenophobic immigration policy, immigration law. They want to take this country back to immigration standards of the 1920s. When I say they want to maintain by any means necessary the white domination, and look, I don't bite my tongue. This is something else people need to know about me. Like, I don't hold back. I'm very often, I'm not politically correct. I am sometimes, but when it comes to like race relations and like immigration and things like that, I say what's on my mind. So people just need to be mindful of that. But when they say they want to do these things, just keep in mind what they're talking about. Just keep that in mind. Okay, they're not trying to provide a pathway to citizenship. That, a DREAM Act might not happen until we really get a strong progressive presence in Congress with a progressive president. It seems like right now, from the way the discussions are going on, the most the Democrats can fight for or hope to get from Republicans is protection for DACA recipients, for the 800,000 people who are under threat of deportation right now. So the Democrats, man, they need to get on it. They need to get on the ball with this, and they need to really essentially treat this as a fight, as a struggle, because right now too many of them are way too malleable. They're like putty. They can be, the Republicans just put the Democrats in their hands like clay and just press them and mold them and shape them in any form or fashion they see fit. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I really wanted to say about the government shutdown. People are going to get paid now, federal employees, and people aren't going to have to worry about going through these long furloughs where they aren't getting paid and they're working for free. But yeah, as long as people are being held hostage by these plutocrats and by these xenophobes in positions of power, and you have people on the opposite side who are supposed to be fighting for these people, supposed to be protecting these people, and they give in, like, anytime the Republicans just blow their breath too hard, the only option is to get these people out of office. That's where we're going. If you don't like what your representatives are doing, if you don't like what your senators are doing, run. And that is a perfect way to segue into the next story that I wanted to talk about, and the next story that I wanted to discuss, which was the massive Women's March. I'm calling it Women's March 2.0, that went down recently, a few days ago, which served as the anniversary for the record-breaking Women's March that occurred last year around this time after Donald Trump was elected and after he was sworn into office. I believe last time I checked, the number said it was about 4 million people that participated in the one last year. About 3 to 4 million people. The one this year wasn't quite as large. There were some areas, some cities around the country that did see an uptick in participation. I want to say Chicago, Los Angeles, and some other areas, some other locations saw an uptick of participants. But overall, it was decreased. The number of people who participated was down. It was depressed. It was, the early numbers say it was about 1 to 2 million people, but that's still a lot. And you had people protesting in cities that they didn't even cover, that they didn't even show. I know here in North Carolina there was a protest at least in Charlotte and Raleigh. There might have been one in Durham, but I know for a fact there was one in Charlotte and Raleigh. And there might have been more. Like I said, it might have been Durham. It might have been going on in some other places. But there were protests in Austin and Houston. There was a protest in Alaska. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people have problems with protesting. And I see protesting for what it is. Okay, protesting is meant to be strategic. Okay, that's what people don't understand. Protesting is not about always getting something right that second. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, family. Man, I'm really gonna have to change these settings after this stream is over. See, this is the thing about doing this for like the first time, and I'm doing this by myself, which I'm cool with. You know, this isn't something that requires like a ton of people, but it's like just little things like this that have to be done on the fly, and it's really looking kind of funky right now, but we're gonna make this work. I'm just trying to get it squared away, like, cause on OBS the picture is larger than how it actually appears on YouTube and on Periscope. Okay, so here's the thing about protesting. Protesting is a tactic. Protesting is not the be-all, end-all. The people do make a mistake of thinking that all they have to do is protest, where protesting kind of becomes like just this thing that people want to do, you know, because, oh, there's a protest, let's go to the protest and let's hold up a sign, let's scream and let's shout, let's walk from point A to point B, and let's just go home and continue business as usual. That's where people kind of mess up with protesting, and that's why you get people who criticize it. But I think the criticisms are a little misguided, because protesting is necessary. Okay, there are times when you need to make your voice known. Okay, there are times when you need to get up off the couch or out of the bed or wherever you're at. Okay, whatever you're doing, there are times when you kind of need to stop that and go out and make it known that what's going on in this country cannot be accepted. It doesn't mean, and most of the time it definitely doesn't mean that politicians are going to give into that, because politicians are very bullheaded. They are very kind of, there's a lot of arrogance that goes along with being a politician, and they don't, you know, like I said, was saying earlier about democracy, a lot of them are not really representative of the public. They don't represent you and me. They represent themselves, and they represent their donors. You know, so if their donors were going to protest, you know, by not giving them money, oh, you would see them move, you know, oceans and mountains to get things done. Okay, so this is when we have to understand that protesting, like I said, is a tactic that needs to be followed up with further action outside of just protesting. And what often gets lost in the discussion, okay, when it comes to protesting, is when you have these large gatherings like the Women's March, which I'm completely supportive of, there's a lot going on the ground level that doesn't get reported. There's a lot of coalition building that's going on. There's a lot of member roles and memberships that's growing because you have people who are being exposed to organizations that they never knew about, okay, that are local to them that they didn't know existed, okay, and they're joining, they're linking up, they're giving money, and so that's a benefit. Like the thing about protesting is it's not about just screaming and shouting, it's about organizing. It's about organizing in the moment. It's about organizing afterwards. Okay, and that comes with a number of benefits. One of the biggest benefits, and I'm going to read this article to you guys from the Washington Post. Okay, the title of this article, and this is a major benefit, okay, that a lot of people aren't really factoring in. Okay, and a lot of people are overlooking. The title of the article is "A Year After the Women's March, a record number of women are running for office. Will they win? Question mark." Okay, and it was written back on the 19th, so it's a few days old. It's not that long. It's not that old. And down below, under the headline, "A record number of women running for office," it says, "This year's congressional elections are likely to feature a record number of female candidates. As of this week, the Center for American Women in Politics had identified 390 women who have filed or are likely to file as U.S. House candidates and 49 women likely to run for the United States Senate. Among House candidates, the vast majority, 82%, are not incumbents." So that's huge. Okay, 82% of these people are just new people running because they're fed up. If those numbers hold up, it would constitute the largest pool of female congressional candidates in history. Okay, so that shows you right there that the Me Too movement and the women's movement and the Women's March, this stuff has legs, and people aren't just tweeting online on Twitter, and people aren't just writing posts on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. People are actually becoming active, and that is the ultimate goal. Now, some people, contrarian minded people, are going to look at this and they're going to say, okay, well, how do we know these people are actually going to advocate for us? And that's a good question. That's a good point. And it is important to note that I want to say of these 390 women, I don't know if it says it in this article. I might have read it in another article. But of these 390 women, I want to say about maybe 20 of them are African American, 20 of them are black. Now, that number needs to be higher, but that number is actually a record itself. So you actually even have more black women running for office now. And you see this actually in some of these special elections going on, with the record number of women winning, the record number of black women getting into positions of power. And that's something that everybody should support on the left, especially us brothers, especially us black men. Okay, there's a lot of unnecessary rivalry going on between black men and black women, and this is something where we can say, okay, we're going to be supportive of this, and hey, if you want to see a change, maybe we also need to get more black men running for office. We should have more black men and black women of like mind running for office. So if you question the allegiance or the politics of someone or of one of these women running, then find a woman that is for the community or for the cause, whatever cause you're advocating, and get them to run. Start your own organization or start your own group and get people of your mindset to run. Run for office yourself if you have a problem with it. But, just sitting around and being unnecessarily pessimistic about women running for office and about the women's march, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with unnecessary contrarianism, which is something that's very popular right now. So continuing with the article, for instance, 47% of Democratic women said they were more closely following the news, and 40% said they were more politically active since Trump won the presidency. So Trump is having a direct influence on Democratic women becoming politically active. So that's a good thing. The numbers for Democratic men were lower at 33 and 34%. So the fellas are kind of falling back, with Trump in office now, and it's the women kind of up there at the forefront. It's the women really at the vanguard. It's the women right now who are like the Praetorian, soldiers of the left. Quite honestly, even if you look at a lot of these protests, most of the pictures I see are 60-40 women to men. Most of them tend to be 60% women, 40% men, and that's just me just looking at the pictures. I could be wrong about that, but it's mostly women that are holding it down right now, and numbers like this bear it out. So female Democrats. This is continuing with the article. Female Democrats also reported being more likely in the wake of the 2016 election to donate to political candidates and join political interest groups. Okay? So that's just continuing to show that, they're just being more active right now. While men, Democratic and Republican alike, in Lawless and Fox's survey, were on average more likely than women to say they were considering a run for office. Female Democrats appeared particularly exercised about Trump. Among the Democrats who said they had thought about running, 28% of women said it first occurred to them since the election, compared to 11% of Democratic men. So they're invigorated right now, and you see that in the Women's March. So you have to look at all of these threads, these underlying threads that are going on right now in this country, and who's out there, who's putting in that work, and hold on one second. Hold on one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically all I wanted to say about that. We should continue to protest because the alternative. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. The alternative is, some people will have you believe that it's okay, instead of protesting, it should be about something else. It should be about starting businesses and getting into industry, and we should not protest. We should just be working. My problem with this is that we can do both. We don't need to do one or the other. There's nothing saying that we can't start black businesses. And I'm just still talking to black people right now for a second. This would apply to other groups as well. It's nothing saying that you can't start businesses and get into industry and circle your dollars in your community while at the same time protesting. Stay away from either or scenarios, black and white scenarios like that. Because that's kind of, people kind of have an agenda when they say, well, you should only do this and not do that. We should have all options on the table. So that's all I wanted to say about the Women's March. So lastly, the story I wanted to cover before I end this live stream is this crazy story. Let me pull up the article first. This story out of Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm going to put a link to the description, or the link to the article in the description box beneath this stream. The title, this is from ABC News. Former Louisville area assistant police chief allegedly instructed a recruit to shoot black people, authorities say. What the hell is going on in this country right now? I'm gonna get into this. Is the whole point for me doing this article or covering this article. A is because a lot of other people aren't, because it doesn't fit into a particular narrative, and B, because it shows that the narrative that people want to push when it comes to state violence is that, oh, it's all by accident. You know, it's not deliberate, it's not coordinated, it's not intentional. You know, they're not intentionally shooting black people. It's purely because of the training. If you guys watch my former videos, you know how I feel about that talking point. Okay? And stories like this poke a major hole in that logic. Okay, so check this out. A former assistant police chief for a Kentucky police department allegedly, there's that word, they want to say allegedly, even though it's come out from prosecutors that it happened, but allegedly instructed a police recruit to shoot black minors if he were to catch them smoking marijuana, according to court documents. Now let me stop right there. Now, in what scenario would you ever hear a police chief telling a police recruit to shoot white minors for marijuana? Never. Matter of fact, the exact opposite is happening. You have white people in states across the country, because of legalized marijuana, who are making money hand over fist from the legal marijuana industry. They're not being shot, but you have this Kentucky police chief telling recruits to shoot black people if they're smoking marijuana. Continuing, in an August 31st letter to Prospect, Kentucky Mayor John Evans, Jefferson County Attorney Mike O'Connell wrote that he has, quote, serious concerns about the then Assistant Police Chief Todd Shaw, who at the time was acting chief for the city of Prospect, a suburban city in the Louisville metropolitan area. So, you know, this prosecutor sent this letter of serious concern to the mayor based on what O'Connell, the prosecutor, discovered. So when senior Jefferson County prosecutors met with members of the Louisville Metro Police Department, they reviewed a, quote, highly disturbing racist and threatening Facebook private messages. Or they reviewed highly disturbing racist Facebook PMs. Shaw had exchanged with a former LMPD police recruit, the letter states. The prosecutors were at the department to conduct an investigation, a separate investigation, to determine whether to file criminal charges against Shaw, because, you know, they found out that he had improperly accessed some National Crime Information Center database, and I guess he didn't have authorization to do it, or he didn't go through the proper channels. So, you know, that sent off a red flag, and prosecutors had to come in and investigate him, you know, that situation. And in the process of doing that, that's when they came across these Facebook PMs. Now check this out. The Facebook messages of concern which accompanied the letter O'Connell sent to Evans, the mayor, occurred from September to October of 2016. So this happened not completely 2 years ago, but it happened way back in 2016. In the Facebook messages, Shaw and the recruit discussed a scenario for the recruit's training, in which he had to write a paper on, quote, the right thing to do if he were to come across 3 juveniles who were smoking marijuana. So let me repeat that. In the Facebook PMs, Shaw, the racist police chief or former police chief in question, and the recruit discussed a scenario for the recruit's training. So people who say, well, the training is wrong. Yeah, the training is wrong not by accident. The training is wrong oftentimes on purpose, because you have these racist people, these racist higher-ups, these white supremacists who are training people, deliberately training people the wrong way. Okay, people like to leave that out. Okay, so, you know, Shaw was telling, in his own words, the right thing to do if he came across 3 juveniles who were smoking marijuana. O'Connell wrote this to the mayor. The recruit appears to have come to Shaw for advice, telling him, quote, "I'm so confused about this paper." So the recruit was like, what? Probably thinking to himself, what the F is this? And the message dated October the 5th of 2015. So here's some of the things that were written. This is what Shaw said. He said, quote, "F the right thing. If black, shoot them." So the recruit is coming to him like, what is this? I'm confused. This is supposed to be the right thing to do, and you're supposed to be training me, and how is this the right thing? And Shaw is like, F the right thing. Screw the right thing. If they're black, shoot them. Shaw allegedly made another racially threatening other racially threatening statements, which included instructions on, quote, how to handle the juvenile's parents, according to the letter. This is how coordinated all of this shit is, y'all. And like, I know some of y'all might have kids listening to this in the background, but this is how coordinated all of this is. They're like, not only do you shoot the kids, this is how premeditated it is. This is how you handle their parents. So Shaw wrote this. If the mom is hot, not hot as in attractive, but pissed off and angry and shouting. If the mom is hot, F her. So screw her. You know, and I'm self-censoring the words here because obviously there's profanity. These were private messages on Facebook. So if the mom is hot, F her. If this is how you wrote it, but he meant if the dad is hot, then handcuff him and make him suck my dick. Shaw allegedly continued, quote, unless daddy is black. So he was saying that if dad is hot, then handcuff him and make him suck my, you know what. But then Shaw added here to make his white supremacy even clearer. If it wasn't more clear to you what his intention was, what his mindset is, if it wasn't more clear to you, he says, unless the daddy is black, then shoot him. And he didn't have a LOL at the end of it. For people who might be listening to this and saying, oh, well, maybe he was just joking. You know, it was just a joke. He wasn't serious. Stop taking things so serious. Stop being a snowflake, yada, yada, yada. There's no LOL statement here. There's no sign that he was just joking, that this was all a game. He's telling a new recruit to shoot a child smoking marijuana. And if the dad is black and the dad is pissed off, shoot the dad too. This is America in 2018, ladies and gentlemen. This is America in the age of Trump. And honestly, that's not technically true, because technically this has been America for a very long time. Okay, stories like this get me heated. In case you can't tell by how I'm talking about this right now, stories like this get me animated. They get me hot. Because you have sleazeballs and basically constitutional violating, rights violating, undemocratic, unconstitutional sleazeballs walking the streets of America all over the place. Read the DOJ reports out of Ferguson. Read the DOJ reports out of Baltimore. Baltimore, and Chicago. This is Kentucky. Stop thinking that these people are few and far between. These people are in every police department. Every single one. And a lot of them are in positions of power. These are the people doing the training. Come on, y'all. How am I the only one pissed off about this right now? How? Like, and I feel like I'm talking to myself right now. How am I the only one angry? Like, yeah, this is to be expected. It's typical. It doesn't make it right. You know what I'm saying? So let me continue because I went on a rant. I wasn't even. It gets worse actually. This article gets worse. In another alleged message, this is continuing on ABC News. In another alleged message, dated September 24th of 2016, the recruit told Shaw that he didn't think he will be the class leader in his recruit class because a former corrections officer was in the class. Shaw then allegedly told that recruit that he was required to sign a form saying he, quote, wasn't racist or associated with racist or hate groups this is how he worded it, per some Kentucky law. Like, so every time you see, like, this first of all, this shows you that people within this police department knew that this dude was a white supremacist. And they have all of these little ways to circumvent public outrage. Yeah, we have this little document. Just sign this document saying you're not racist. So we can say publicly that you're not racist. Just sign this document saying you're not affiliated with any white supremacist groups. We don't know if it's true or not, but it says, you wrote your little signature here on this paper, and it says it's true. And you get these idiots in the media who are gonna just repeat it as fact. Oh, this racist police chief, signed this document saying he wasn't racist. So I guess that's his hands are clean. It's a fact now because he wrote it on a piece of paper. So he's basically saying that he's not, he was talking to this recruit saying he's not going to be there because he said he had to sign some document saying he wasn't racist. Then continuing, quote, what has policing come to when all you can shoot are white people and injured deer? Shaw wrote, LOL. So this guy is mad when he says, what is policing coming to when all you can shoot are white people? Why can't I shoot blacks? Why can't I? He didn't say this, but this is my inputting my own words to it. Why can't I shoot those N-words? Why can't I shoot them? What has policing come to when all you can shoot are white people and deer? I want to be able to shoot them blacks. And then he added a LOL at the end of it. I guess that's supposed to mean something. It really kind of, if really honest, he tells you where his mindset is more than anything. So I'm scrolling down. That's why I paused. I'm scrolling down because to skip some other stuff that I don't necessarily want to read or want to cover. If you want to read it more in detail, go to the link that I provided in the description box. But further down the article, it says, in another alleged message on April the 8th of 2017, Shaw allegedly this really pissed me off. Shaw allegedly referred to Martin Luther King Jr. as, quote, nothing but a racist womanizer. But and then he continued, but because someone shot him, I get a day off with pay each year, so I will take it. End quote. The message, there's the word allegedly again. As if, I hate when these I hate when these news outlets, these mainstream news outlets put these words in there to make it seem like these people aren't really saying this shit. Allegedly, this is the prosecutor saying this. The prosecutor sent this letter with these private messages to the mayor of not the mayor of Kentucky, but the mayor of whatever city this is, Prospect. So this isn't alleged. This is fact. But because someone, this is what he said. Let me repeat it. But because someone shot him, I get a day off with pay, so I will take it. Oh, this is white supremacy 101. Shaw also allegedly wrote on March 6 of 2017 that he needed, quote, target practice when referring to the, quote, revitalized Russell neighborhood named after African-American educator and Kentucky native Harvey Clarence Russell. He said that, this isn't a quote, this is me talking. He said that he needed target practice in a black neighborhood, y'all. These are the people. These are the dirtbags walking the streets. Not all, look, I'm gonna just put this out there. Not all of them. I'm not saying every single last one is like this. Okay, but these are the people shooting folks. These people have lives to control the life and death of a civilian. And they think like this about the people they police? It is not just a training issue. It is not just a training issue. It is way worse than that, y'all. It's way worse than people want to admit. And it's worse than people want to admit because people want to believe that all of these people with badges, and look, some of them, this might be true for some of them, but they want to believe all of these folks with badges are benevolent actors. When clearly, it's been proven, it's been shown, time and time again, okay, they're not all I'm getting tongue-tied. They're not all benevolent actors. They're not all doing this out of the goodness of their heart. People really need to get out of that and get out of thinking that's what's going on. A lot of these shootings are intentional. Okay, a lot of them are. I don't know which ones, but I'm saying this is my gut talking. Okay, this is my gut talking. A lot of these things that are going on are going on because people want them to go on. And until we start addressing the issue of accountability, yes, change the policing standards or the training standards. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying the training is A-okay. I'm definitely not saying that. But I'm saying that it's deeper than that. There's a deeper structural issue of white supremacy within law enforcement that needs to be addressed. And people need to stop trying to gloss over this because, you know, it makes them feel uncomfortable. Because it makes them feel uncomfortable that we've given so much power to people who have such ugly views of black people. But sometimes, at some point in time, you just have to face facts. Some point in time, you just have to keep it real. So I'm done venting about this story. This was my first live stream. Those were the stories I went over. And I will definitely be doing another one same time 2 days from now on Friday on 12 o'clock on the dot. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Sometimes, you know, you might not, depending on if you're working at 12 o'clock, you might not be able to watch the live stream because I have to do this at a time that's convenient for me. and it's not really convenient for me to do this later on during the day. And plus, I like to, I'm most active, the middle of the day anyway. The noon is like the perfect time for me. It's when I have the most energy. It's when I'm most alert. So when it starts getting later on in the day, I'm just start getting tired. I start wanting to do other things. So, definitely follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, but I don't really screw with Facebook like that anymore. Definitely follow me on Twitter. Okay, @_Black Intellect, and follow me on YouTube especially, and help me grow this channel. 2018 is going to be great. I have a great feeling about some of the things that I'm doing on my end behind the scenes, and I have a great feeling about Black and Intellectual and where Black and Intellectual is going. So that's it. First live stream in the books. Episode 1, I guess you can say. And have a nice day.